Ethan.
And Andy, go to Citi.
Hello, Andy.
Hello, Ethan. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. It's been a while since we've done this,
It has.
but there are changes afoot.
We're past the trade deadline.
Absolutely. Some big stuff happening there.
Right. But we're here for another episode of Ethan.
And Andy, go to Citi. Your thoughts on the deadline?
Well, I think it remains to be seen. There are certainly some really good prospects like Jefferson Rojas and Sammy Stafura that we got, but a lot of the other ones are, they seem to be talented, but we just don't know. A lot of these were expiring contracts, and you might as well get something for these people.
Yeah, I think the two that were not Weaver and Brazoban, a little interesting that they decided to move on from them, but they were trying to reload the minor leagues, and I think they did that. Right?
Exactly.
So,
and I mean, as good as Weaver was this year, I mean, relievers are so interchangeable in some ways that he could have lost it next year. So maybe you just sell when his value is at the highest.
And I think that makes some sense. I think that what's really interesting is, except for Peralta and Taylor, everybody else they traded came out of the bullpen, right?
I think so.
And the one strength this team had all year was its bullpen. Of course, they come out of the trade deadline and they're hitting like gangbusters, and except for yesterday, pitching like gangbusters. So, I'm fine with the haul. I mean, I think it adds a little bit of intrigue and excitement to a season that had very little of it. So, there was no superstar prospect that came our way, but we were not trading from a hand of strength. So
exactly, and I think we'll see, and this gives a chance for some people to be promoted from the minor leagues, and we'll see what how they do.
Yeah, I mean, look at the whole bullpen is new now,
yeah,
so
exactly.
That's interesting. What about Bruin Agbayani as a trading piece?
I loved his father, and it'll be fun to have him. I mean, he seems to have some hitting ability.
Yeah,
so
he's a kid.
See. Yeah,
so we don't really know. It's the quintessential lottery ticket, but I just loved seeing that name, and I was like, it has to be his kid, right?
Right.
And sure it was.
It is kind of funny though. I mean, because one of the knocks against Stearns is that he has he doesn't give into emotion, no sentimentality. But in some ways, that is a perfect example of he's talented, but the real reason you might get him is because of the connection to Mets history.
Yeah. And that's the reason any of us really cares, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's an infielder, which is interesting because his dad was an outfielder. And they don't, Benny was built like a fire hydrant, and his son seems to be longer and leaner. They're totally different, similar to only in the opposite way of what Vlad Guerrero and Vlad Jr. are, but switching roles. So it was interesting because if you think about, we traded Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams to get Freddie Peralta and Meyer.
Tobias
Myers, thank you. And so now, just several months later, we essentially traded Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams for Tobias Meyer and Emilian Petre and Gary Gilhill and Aiden Smith. So it's it became minor leaguers for minor leaguers, and it was 2 for 4 that way. So,
and certainly Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams are not having great seasons so far. So it's not like
there's nothing seriously lost there. I mean, the thing about trading prospects is it's not always about they didn't work out. It's, did you get full value on their promise, right? Like when they traded Casimir all those years ago, it wouldn't have been so bad if they had gotten Carlos Zambrano at the time, but they didn't. They got Victor Zambrano, right? So that's really the key. And I don't know. I mean, I think that had Freddie Peralta been this year what he was last year, and it's really been for most of his career, nobody would be wringing their hands over trading, Williams and Sprout.
But it is so, you just never know, because I read somewhere there was a story that there was a chance that it was 2 years ago it was going to be Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams for Garrett Crochet, who then went to the Red Sox, who obviously would have been a lot better, but then of course is hurt all this year. So I mean,
You never
there's so
know.
many variables.
There are so many, and that's why it's much easier to Monday morning quarterback than it is to quarterback. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, I wasn't wowed by it, but I do. I follow. I read Amazing Avenue, the Mets blog, every morning, and I
Hmm.
love looking forward to the minor league report. And it's just been fun this whole week seeing a whole slew of new names in there.
Right. And all fairly highly ranked. I mean, which may say something more about where the Mets farm system is now since we promoted so many people.
Right.
But still, you needed to fill the system again.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think obviously not the year we wanted to have. I thought back in 23 when they did that big fire sale, they did okay, but
Hmm.
I think they did better. Certainly they have more numbers. Of course, they traded more people, but
Right.
I think they did better this year, to be honest.
Yeah. No, and even there are people who say they didn't get enough back in 23, but at the time, all those were, potential people, they had high upside. And so they didn't work out, but that's the way it is. That's why you have to keep on getting more and more people into the system.
That's right. And then the other thing too is that people forget is not all these guys will make the major leagues, but not all these guys have to because they just have a little promise, and then you trade them this off season for major leaguers again, right?
Right.
So we'll see. That It's funny how people talk about the Mets intend to compete and all that, but I don't even know if we're going to have a 2027. So that's the other thing.
Exactly. And I think that's in the back of David Stern's mind and probably other GMs that, you know, they don't want to like take on high contracts
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, in that regard, the Weaver trade makes a little bit more sense too.
Mhm.
Like if he's not even going to pitch for you in his last year of his contract because the season gets canceled,
Yeah.
it's better to turn him into some kids who haven't even made it yet. Maybe. We'll
Yeah.
see. And
So
then what do you make of them just like coming out, sweeping the Guardians, and then crushing Pittsburgh in the first game of the season? I mean, series.
it's great. And I
Where
mean,
was this?
I know, but I mean, it just shows, I mean, Carson Benj and AJ Ewing just, are just taking off, and Francisco Lindor finally seems to have,
Right, the
rounded a
ship.
corner,
Yeah,
and, it makes a difference.
it does. It really does. I think I think it goes back to that criticism of Stearns about changing too much too soon. And I really do believe that if you bring in a single star at a time, there's pressure on that guy, but he's already buttressed and buffered by others who are there. But
Hmm.
when you bring in a bunch of people who are coming to a new team, coming to New York City, and on top of that, replacing beloved players, that's a lot of pressure. And I know these guys are professional and they get paid millions and millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, when they walk down the street in their street clothes, they're human beings. And I think I don't think it's a coincidence that at the trade deadline, which is officially waving the white flag,
Hmm.
that suddenly the pressure's off and suddenly these guys are playing loosey goosey. I mean, they
Yeah.
were stealing bases on Friday night left and right.
I
Where was that in April, May, and June?
I know. And it's just, and it takes a while. Like Bo Bichette is getting to a point where he's having an almost typical season, but it took 2 or 3 months in order to get there. And it's too bad, but I also can understand it.
Yeah. Now, do you think he opts out? Do you think he sticks with that contract? It's a lot of money to walk away from.
Yeah, and how does it work out with the lockout? I mean, if there's a lockout, is the contract guaranteed? I didn't
No,
see
I don't
any
think it is. I
ideas.
don't
Or,
think those
right,
guys get paid. So,
right,
um, yeah, I don't. But the lockout doesn't happen until December.
right.
So, but you have to file. You have to make your decision like what, a week after the World Series or something.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to roll the dice.
I would think he would opt in this year,
I think
and
so too.
then maybe next year, if he
Right.
has a typical year, then he'll
Right.
try to get a long term contract.
Right. Um,
I mean, because it's $40 million, so that's like,
yeah, I mean he's still guaranteed with the Mets 84 million,
yeah,
but they also pay him 5 million if he opts out. I mean, I don't understand that idea, um, but I think you're right because if he had to opt into these last 2 years, then I think there was a chance maybe he goes and looks someplace else. But since he has that second opt out, I think he probably takes the 42 million this year,
yeah,
which he's not going to beat next year, and then sees what happens after that.
right. And I do think, I mean, assuming there is a season, I think the Mets. I mean, I think the Mets will be better next year in a sense that the expectations will be so much lower
Mm.
that
Mm.
they'll be able to exceed them.
And you have all these guys who maybe struggle to adapt.
Hmm.
They've done it now,
Right.
right? Like I don't think Bichette's going to have the year he had last year. I do think that they'll have to figure out at least a platoon with Semyon at second, um, because he's killing you.
Yeah.
Even though he's got okay power numbers, but he's killing you. I read this morning that his on base percentage against right-handed pitchers is 250. So let him hit lefties and
Right.
bring in a left-handed
Well, that
platoon.
is the one thing. Like, at this point, I mean, I'm done with Vientos and Beatty, though I suppose Beatty is slightly better. But it does feel like that Ronnie Mauricio has never had a full shot, and he may flunk it, but at this point in the season, I would rather see him play second base for the rest of the season just to see if he has it.
Well, he also is terrible against lefties. He's
Yeah,
exactly the opposite
yeah,
of what Semyon is. That would
yeah,
actually be a smart platoon. Just play him against righties, let him bat
yeah.
left-handed. It's funny you bring up Mauricio because I actually posted something this morning on the aforementioned Mason
Mm,
Avenue about how people were complaining that Mauricio doesn't seem to have gotten the same runway that those
mm,
two did. But those two were third basemen, and that was a hole. To give him a runway, Mauricio over the last few years would have meant he was a shortstop, so you're not going to
you're right.
displace Lindor. And McNeil, until kind of last year, he was still a very productive ball player,
Yeah,
um, inconsistent but
yeah,
productive. So you weren't really going to displace him. And on top of that, he lost a lot of development time when he blew out his knee. He
yeah,
lost more than a year, and he was a guy who could ill afford that. So sometimes these things, this is the hand you get dealt.
right.
But I agree. Bring him
Yeah,
up now
yeah,
and let him play lefty platoon
yeah.
to Semyon. I think.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense to me. And we seem to, with McLean, Scott, and Thornton. I mean, seeing the beginnings of a stable rotation.
Yeah, a young stable rotation.
Yeah.
What I like about Thornton is I don't think he's this good, but he throws strikes. He's economical in his
Mhm.
in his pitches. So if he's never more than a 4 or 5, starter, so what? I mean,
You
it
need that.
just it just feels like stability
Hmm.
for the first time in forever. How badly do you miss David Peterson? Like zero, right?
Exactly. I know, but I guess he's doing okay with the Cubs.
I haven't
Yeah,
really
yeah,
followed. I know,
I know.
yeah, I don't really know. I know that Peralta got shellacked his
Yes.
first game out, but it was in Colorado, I believe. So we'll give him a little caveat. Um, and also next year, Tyler McGill comes back. I think maybe they should think about him as a bullpen arm.
Hmm.
But if Senga proves that he's a bullpen arm, if you had Senga and McGill already in your bullpen, and obviously Williams at the back end, you've already got some established arms, even with all the trades they
Hmm.
made. So
Yeah. No, that's definitely the beginnings of a good bullpen situation. No, I certainly hope. I mean, if Senga can really pull that off, he'll at least. And I guess it's only one more year in his contract, so
but I
yeah,
mean, the times they put him out there for
yeah,
one inning, he's looked great. I think Senga's just a head case because
yeah.
his stuff is great, but like, his mechanics fly out of whack all the time, and I think it's just because he's thinking too much out
Hmm.
there. I see written on your pad there something we absolutely have to talk about. Jeffrey
Yeah.
Young. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's fun in the way he leaps up and down every time he strikes somebody out. It's fun because he's on our team, but how long is that going to last before somebody either?
Yeah, throws a
Yeah,
bat at him or
yeah, yeah.
something. It's so funny you say because he's on our team. Because like I thought, if this guy was a Brave, I would be screaming expletives at the TV because that is so
Yeah.
obnoxious, so obnoxious. Um, I also worry that he's going to like pull a groin muscle doing that.
Yeah. But it's also it is quite a story that I mean he was been in the minors for 12 years and was a Korea or Japan for several years. I mean, and then he's still
And he also left baseball altogether. He was
yeah,
like a roofer and a gardener or something for a while.
and now is still throwing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. When did you stop throwing 100 miles an hour? Like at birth? Was
yeah,
that?
I think so. Yeah.
It is a cool story, and you got to love those kinds of stories. I do think he's going to piss off the wrong person
Yeah.
eventually with that leap because every strikeout, I mean, you throw 100 and some odd miles an hour, you're supposed to strike people out. There's that school of thought, like act like you've done it before.
Hmm.
So we'll see. But I did like the hustle he showed on Friday when they threw at the guy. He threw a wild pitch, and they threw out the guy at the plate.
Hmm.
Jan was off the mound towards the plate in an instant, which is such a contrast to how people were playing earlier in the season. You remember there was it Peterson failed to cover first base or
Yeah.
back up first base or something, and or back up the plate, I guess it was, and that was the kind of thing we even talked about it on this podcast that finally made me say, okay, Mendoza's got to go because that kind of stuff that just that has to you have to be held to account for
Yeah.
that. So to see Jan just like jump off the mound, tag the guy out, and again celebrate that was fun to see.
Yeah. No, those things make a difference, and nine times out of ten, maybe somebody else covers or get the out, but it's running hard down to the first baseline or covering the right base.
It's not that hard to do.
Yeah.
If you get up 4 times a game, that means you got to run 4 times. Like that's not that hard to do.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to do. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think having that fresh bullpen. I don't think they're all gonna be great, but I know it's exciting and they all have
Hmm.
something to play for.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I want to watch some of the minor league games. I mean, now because all the prospects went to Brooklyn or Binghamton.
Yeah,
I know, and they seem to all be like their first games, like doing well.
they are,
Yeah.
and then you got Mitch Voigt down in Binghamton.
Yeah.
It's just like I mean, he's hitting over 500 down there. It's crazy. He struggled to start the season. He was their first round pick last year. Was it? Did they miss the first? Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
first round still. Sluggish start in Brooklyn this year, but I don't even know if he earned the promotion to Binghamton, but he got the promotion to Binghamton and just went on fire. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can start dreaming on him.
Hmm. No, it's gonna be. I mean, David Stearns is gonna have a tough job this off season. I mean, both because of what happens with the lockout, but I mean, he will have to sign some more relief pitchers, even if we have the beginnings of for 2027. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, there don't seem to be many major first basemen available and free agents, but I mean, Jorge Polanco is not the answer.
No, I mean Young is holding down the job better
Yeah.
than I ever imagined he
Hmm.
would, but he's not the answer on a
No.
team with plans to be champions. They need to solve first. They need to solve second because that's a problem. If Thornton is for real, then you've got 3/5 of the rotation in with kids, but I
Hmm.
think you need at least I mean Minaya I think has been serviceable. So, but you probably need at least 2 more arms you can really depend on coming in. Outfield seems set now
Yeah.
with Ewing and Benj and Soto,
And Soto,
obviously.
yeah. And yeah, that is amazing. I mean, the fact that Soto moved to left field became sort of just like a afterthought with everything else happening, but it's worked out well.
It really has worked out well, and it really opened up that outfield for Benj and for
Mm.
Ewing. And I'm glad they stuck with Benj when he was struggling at the beginning of the year.
Hmm.
He's looked great in the last month and a half or whatever. So so what else? I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a while, but I think that was the highlight was
Was it
the trade deadline and the better
right?
play since.
Right. Yeah, and we'll just see. And somebody said the Red Sox have gone 35-7 in the last month, and theoretically, if the Mets won that, they would barely get at the playoffs.
This is exactly what being a Mets fan is all about. It's like
Yeah.
Boston did it.
Yeah.
Boston has had like a 12-game winning streak, and then they lost one, and then now they've got like I think they lost the other night, but they had like another 8-game winning streak. It's like amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. They must be going nuts up in Boston.
Yeah. Which I mean, I don't
Bunky's
think
probably losing his shit.
exactly. I don't think it's going to happen for the Mets, but it does go to show that it is possible.
Yeah, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be crazy?
Yeah.
Where's my calcium market? I'm going to put my money on the Mets.
I had to think about, could resign Clay Holmes in the offseason, but I don't know. And those things never work out when they say to let somebody go and they'll
Almost
resign
never.
them.
Yeah.
It never works.
Yeah. They're always like, in that moment, there's always like, oh, yeah, I would sign with them again. But then there's like, some sort of bitterness comes in or whatever. Um, Apparently, they never even had the conversation with Holmes to extend, which seemed odd.
Yeah.
But they got something for him, so
Right.
that's the other part of the equation. Does it make sense to sign him for next year, which is all up in the air anyway, or does it make sense to get a player for him?
Yeah, and if you could sign him for the $12 million that his option is for, that would be one thing. But I mean, he's going to want 25. Like he's going to want like at very least Manaya's contract, which
Easily.
look how that worked out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and that's another reason to maybe play it safe. I don't know, get something of value out of him. Who I'm trying to remember. That was the that was the Cubs trade. That's
Yeah,
where they
for
got
him.
Rojas.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's, I mean, he's becomes the Mets number one prospect. So
Which is amazing.
yeah.
Says more about Jonah Tongs here than anything else. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Well, it's been good talking to you again.
I'm glad we got back to do this again. It's been too long.
And we are, so I think this is the end of another episode of Ethan
And Andy,
Go
go
to
to
Citi.
Citi.